Hello, friends. Welcome to this week's webinar. As CloudForceSky, we do have our webinars every week where we have a presenter walking us through a demo to a solution of one of our weekly challenges. As always, we are looking forward to learning some new things from this week's presenter. We strongly encourage you to share your thoughts on this video by leaving a comment below, expressing your opinions and letting us know what you would like to see from CloudForceSky in the future. This week, we are privileged to have Janet, an AWS Cloud engineer, with us walking us through a demo on how to provision infrastructure using CloudFormation. Without further ado, over to you, Janet.
So I want to believe that you can all see my screen.
It's loading. Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so my name is Janet, and I'm going to take you through provisioning AWS resources using CloudFormation. So the first thing that will come to your mind is why CloudFormation? It is so easy to go to the AWS Management Console and provision any type of resource. You can decide you want to provision an EC2 instance, a load balancer, you want to do auto scaling groups. It's so easy because you have a graphical user interface. But why CloudFormation? So first of all, you're going to look at what is CloudFormation and the benefits of using CloudFormation before I proceed to a demo where I'm going to demo how you're going to write a small code and provision some resources. So according to the AWS documentation, CloudFormation documentation, so to access this documentation, just go on Google and search AWS CloudFormation documentation. So what is CloudFormation? So AWS CloudFormation is a service that helps you model and set up your AWS resource so that you can spend less time managing those resources and more time focusing on applications that run in AWS Cloud. Okay, so what this means is that you're able to provision your entire infrastructure just using a simple code, a template. You're able to provision your entire infrastructure. So why CloudFormation? First of all, it simplifies infrastructure management. Normally, if you want to provision some resources, you have to manually, if you're using the management console, you have to manually go and set up all those resources. For example, an EC2 instance, which is easier because you're going to use the graphical user interface. But sometimes, because it is a manual process, and if you're dealing with a lot of services, you're going to encounter some errors because the process is manual. So by writing down a template, either written in YAML or JSON, you just provision this infrastructure to go. That is the first benefit. The second is quickly replicate your infrastructure. So for the purpose of high availability, whereby you have an application that you want it to be highly available. So in the case that one AZ is down, availability zone is down, then another AZ will be on standby. So when you're beginning to start this infrastructure, replicating the first infrastructure can be hectic because being manual, you have to manually set up another AZ, a backup AZ for the first original infrastructure. So if you wrote these, if you provisioned the first infrastructure, for example, in AZ1, maybe US East 1, using a template, you're able to reuse the same template in setting up another infrastructure in a different AZ. Even if you want to expand and maybe grow to around 5-6 AZs, you're just going to use the same template. So quickly replicates your infrastructure. Then third is easily control and track changes. So the same way we have developers using tools such as Git to manage version controls. Writing a code with YAML or JSON, you can also integrate Git so that it helps you track changes. Just the same way developers use Git for tracking control version. So with all that said and done, I'm going to proceed to a demo. But before I proceed to a demo, I'm just going to show you how you can provision your server, an EC2 server, using the console, which is very simple. Everyone loves that because it's very simple. So if I log into my AWS Management Console, I just want you to note those steps. If you're new, I'm sure not everybody is very new to AWS Cloud. It's a simple process. Find the name of the server you want to provision, select the AMI, select the instance type. Yeah, if I want to launch from the management console. So find the name of your server, the AMI, instance type, a key pair for security, then networking settings for VPC, subnets, and security groups. Then if you want advanced settings such as user groups, and maybe if you want to use port instances together with the on-demand instances, then you go to the advanced setting. That is all you need to provision an EC2 server using the management console. So it is the same process with CloudFormation. You're just going to list it down, the same steps. So let's proceed, and I'm going to go to my VS Code. I hope you can all see that. Can you see the VS Code? I hope I've shared it.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to write a short code to provision an EC2 instance and also a security group. An EC2 instance with a security group. So I'm going to create two resources. So when you start your template, you start with AWS template format, that is 2010 version. This is standard across all the templates. So you can reuse the same to create multiple templates. Now, the first resource you're going to create is an EC2 instance. Okay, so just note what I'm going to do. From here, the first resource, as I said, is the EC2 instance. So I'm going to put some space. Indentation is key when you're creating this template. So I'm using YAML. I'm creating the template using YAML. Some people can prefer JSON, but myself, I prefer creating it using YAML. And I'm sure a lot of you are lovers of YAML. So I'm using YAML. Okay. So I'm going to find a name of that server. So I'm just going to call it my EC2, then followed by a colon. Once you're done with that, very simple. The next thing is what type of resource is this? So type. So what type of resource is this? It's AWS. Then, sorry, for this first step, I'm going to write everything down so that you understand. So the type is AWS. Let me just put it in caps. EC2 instance. Then the next thing is property. Now this is the description of the EC2 instance. So properties. So the first property of the EC2 instance, when you're trying to describe the EC2 instance, one is the image ID. And I'm going to use an AMI. So if you want to get an AMI, let me go back to the management console. Then on the AMI, I'm just going to copy an AMI ID. Like this one for Amazon Linux 2, I'm going to copy this AMI. So it's going to launch an Amazon Linux 2 server. Yeah. So the next thing is an instance type. So it's also case sensitive. So be careful when you're doing that. Instance type. And I'm going to use T2 micro. So basically this is just a description of the server you want to launch. T2.micro. Then the key name. I'm going to use an existing key pair, which is already existing in my AWS account. So when you're putting the key type here, the key pair, make sure it's created in your account. So mine, I have a key by the name Chesang there. Then lastly, security groups. And I'm going to put a reference because I'm going to create the security group. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Then the next resource I'm going to create is now the security group, and then we deploy these templates. So next is I'm going to create a security group, EC2. I'm going to call it EC2 security group, SG. Then normally the type, what type is it? So type, it's AWS, but now we change this one to the security group. It's not an instance. Once you're done with that, same procedure, same things, property. The next thing is property to describe. So property is, first property we are going to describe in the security group. First is the security group description, what it is. So I'm just going to write group description, then a colon after it. So what is this? For this security group, it's going to allow HTTP traffic. Then security group ingress, meaning that you're going to allow some certain traffic from a certain port. So I'm allowing port 80, that is HTTP. Security group. You can also write down egress. That means traffic out of the instance. So for the ingress, I'm going to put the protocol, IP protocol, which is TCP. Then from what port? It's port 80. Port 80. Then 2 ports, also 80, and the range of IP address. Because you want it to be publicly accessible, you're going to put 0.0.0. Anybody can access that instance, which is not very secure if you're dealing with a very serious server. You cannot allow access to everyone in the internet. So let me just put this header block. That is 0.0.0.0/0 and be accessible everywhere. Now, because I've created the security group, I said I was going to refine it so that when it creates the instance, it's going to use the security group. So it reference that. So reference to EC2 SG. Also, another thing I'm going to do, when it's creating the EC2 instance, it's going to be dependent on this security group. So I'm just going to put, it depends. For it to create the instance, it depends on EC2 security group. Yes, so this is a very simple template. This is what I'm going to deploy so that it provisions our EC2 server. Okay, so let me just make sure that everything is in order before I provision this template. So I'm just counter checking to make sure that everything is in order. So indentation is a very big problem. If you cannot know where to put some space, it's going to cause you some errors. Okay, so I'm just going to deploy these templates. Then I'm going to be open for questions. Also, I'm going to show you how you're going to provision the same thing using the AWS CLI. So hopefully you don't get me when implement this infrastructure. So you go back to the management console. So let me just save it. I named
Janet, there is a question.
it. Yes.
David T has a question.
I'm wondering, do you need to have a full column there on the ref, between the ref and the EC2 SG?
Do you need to have what?
A full column.
Yeah.
Right there where it's blinking.
Yeah.
Why it is blinking.
Okay, there's no column here, so you don't need it. Yeah. You only need the columns when you're, for example, when you're naming the property, depends on column and then the feature. For the ref, you don't. Yeah, so I don't know if you have another question. Otherwise, let me try save this and deploy it. So I'm going back to management console. So I'm going to search for CloudFormation. So I'm going to create a stack. So I already have a template. Template is ready, and I'm going to upload the template. So let me just choose that template. I named it as CloudForce.html. Then stack name, let me put CloudForce. Then everything else you can put as default. Then submit. So fingers crossed, creation is in progress. I hope I don't get any error. So as it continues to provision, these are just two resources. And in most cases, you have to develop a very big infrastructure. You're not just going to use two resources. So for example, when this EC2 server is provisioned, it's going to be launched in the default VPC. Okay? You can also decide that you're going to create everything from scratch, including the VPC. So in one of the templates that I created, and I created the VPC from scratch, a sample is here. This is how the template looks like. I created the VPC from scratch. That means I put two subnets, the public, the private. And as you can see, it's very simple. What you're just going to play around with is the type and property. Give the name to that subnet. What is the type? It's a subnet. Properties of a subnet. So you go back to the way you manually provision a subnet. What do you put there? Normally, it's just the CIDR block, an IP address, and you reference it to the VPC you want it to be in. Now, as an internet gateway, because the VPC will have to communicate to the internet, you have to create an internet gateway. So same thing, give it a name. The type is an internet gateway. We don't have any properties for the internet gateway. Attach the gateway to the VPC, type, property, and on the properties now you list everything that is going to describe that service. Yeah. So you go like that all the way down. It's a simple thing when once you learn how to just play around with these terms. So let me go back to my templates. Yeah, so as you can see, it's complete. The template had no error, so everything has been provisioned. Okay, so you can see that the EC2 SG has been created. It's complete. My EC2 is complete. So if I come back to the server.
Janet, there's a question from Shiro.
Yes?
Maybe we go back to that code. Positioning a subnet.
Okay, for creating the VPC.
Yes, in the console there's a place they ask for even availability zones. Maybe where do you put availability zone in this entire code?
So for the availability zone, it's something that I've not. Oh, sorry.
In the region and the region.
Okay. So for this template, I've not put an availability zone. It will just pick automatic depending on the same way when you create an instance without a VPC, it's going to pick the default VPC. But when you go to the template, the CloudFormation template, for example, let me go to it. It has all the properties that you can include when creating an EC2. Let me just show you that. AWS Cloud EC2. So you can always refer to this document. The documentation is very clear. So from the documentation, you'll see that when I'm creating an instance, I just picked 4 properties. That is the image ID, security group, the key pair. But from this documentation, we'll have event mapping. Let me show you. So you can see, for me, I just put the type. The property I selected image ID. Let me see. Image ID, which is here, and it's a string. You can put anything else, including, let me show you the part of, so you see the availability zone, it's also available as a property. So if I want to do that, if I want to be specific with the availability zone, I'll just come to the instance here, anywhere in the properties, and just add availability zone. So I'm just adding a property of the availability zone. Then you can put US East 1, US East 2, depending on the availability zone you want. Yes, so do you have any other question? So normally you can just refer to the documentation and all the properties that can be put in that specific service. But all of them are not compulsory. It's not mandatory.
Read the name instance correct.
Where is it?
There.
Yeah, this is instance. Oh, sorry. It's because I made an error. But if I try deploying this same template, I'll just get error automatically. I'm just going to finish it up or deploying the same template using the AWS CLI. So what you've just done, you've created a stack using the AWS Management Console. Now what I'm going to do is use the CLI, the AWS command line user interface, because you're going to find at some point, some company policies will not allow you to use the management console. So you have to learn it. So to start with that, I'll just search CMD, command prompt. For you to be able to run AWS commands, you have to install AWS CLI, which I've already installed. So for using the CLI is very simple. So let me just write AWS configure. So access key, secret key. For you to be able to do this using the CLI, you should have an access key and a secret key, which you can always get from your account. When you go to identity and access management, you're able to retrieve the access and secret key. Yeah, so I'm going to write a very simple code now to provision a different template. So before I go there, let me just clear my account, whatever I created, so that you don't get a mix-up with what I created using the console and what I created using the CLI. So I'm just going to CloudFormation. Because it was successful, you have seen it is successful. Let me see, it created an EC2 instance. So I have this instance running, which has just been created from the stack we created. Okay. As you can see, it's CloudForce. This is the stack. Okay, this is the security group I created from that template. So let me just delete this stack. So one benefit with using CloudFormation, I don't have to manually start to delete everything that was created one by one. By me deleting the stack, it automatically deletes all the resources that were created with the stack. So I don't have to come and delete the EC2 instance, delete the security group, delete the internet gateway. No. So I'm just going to delete that stack, cloud. So I'm deleting this tag, and it will just delete everything that was created with it. Now, after I've deleted it, now I'm going to use the CLI and use another template to provision a different resource. So I've just logged into the CLI. You only need an access key and a secret key. So to just confirm that I'm in the correct account, so I'm just listing the content of the S3 bucket in my account to just make sure I'm in the correct account, because I can have multiple accounts. Now, creating a stack using CLIs is simple. What I'm going to do is I'll just put AWS, the service, CloudFormation, then create. This is the same thing you have done on the management console. I'm just doing it on the CLI. Create stack, and then I give a stack name. And I'm going to name it, let me put test stack. Then a template body, templates. So I'm just giving the path to that template. Okay, so I've written it down somewhere. This is one of the templates I have, and just paste it there. So the template is vpc.yaml. So let's run that. Okay, there's an error somewhere.
Janet.
Yeah.
Check the spelling for CloudFormation. You missed an A.
Yes. Thank you. CloudFormation. Yes, and that's it. It's going to, okay, there's another error. Let me see. You see AWS CloudFormation, create stack, stack name, test stack, template body, file is user. Yes.
I can see stack name as a dash, stack dash name.
Oh, yeah. So there's a dash here, stack. Thank you. So I have already expert in this session. Good. I missed that. So create stack, then stack name, then test stack. I hope it's going to work. Yeah, this one is working. So using the CLI, that simple command, it's going to deploy that template. So we give it some time, and then we can see if it has created the stack and deployed the resources. So I think I've come to the end of the presentation. That was provisioning AWS resources using CloudFormation, and I've provisioned them using both the management console and using the CLI. So just give it a minute to see if it's going to. Okay, as you can see, test stack is already in creation. This is what you have just done on the command line. So if you get an error, you're going to look at it from this point. But I hope there's no error. With that template VPC, it's going to provision a VPC and an EC2 instance. So do you have any questions up to that point? Using CloudFormation.
There's a hand raised from Moses.
Yes, Moses.
Maybe just to ask this, by the way, yeah?
Yes.
For instance, I realized that as you are creating things like the policies for the groups, I was able to create it graphically. Then I was able to generate the code. Now, for those of us who have been deploying these resources using the management console, is there a way you can generate that code, then you can edit the code and improve on it? So CloudFormation template.
So Moses, you want shortcuts? You want to have a way you're going to generate the codes?
Not really a shortcut, because like for the policies, I was able to generate one, and I've been able to edit the policies, several of them, because I learned how to do that editing. Now that I have an instance, like your instance, I saw you only put maybe 3 or 4 properties. An instance, I've put so many properties in it. So I'm able to generate that, then I can improve that as my template.
Yes. So if you don't want to develop the codes from scratch, so if you're using VS Code, just come and install the CloudFormation extension. Okay, so CloudFormation, just search for it, CloudFormation, this one here, it's already installed. Such that when you're developing something, okay, for this demo, I was typing down every one by one, but it's very simple. If I want to create maybe like an instance, another resource, let me add something here. Maybe security group. I'm going to pick something here, security group, and then it's going to generate for me the code. So I only input the properties. I don't have to do it from scratch. That is one way. Another way is use CloudFormation Designer when you're creating, when you go back to the management console. Now, I had the option of uploading a template. You can decide to use Designer so that once you pull and drop an instance, it generates that code. So for you, it's just to alter some things like the key pair name, which cannot be similar for everybody. The last option, use ChatGPT. It's going to help you a lot. I hope I've answered you. Yes, John, I think John has a question.
You talked about the access key and the secret key. What's at their use?
Okay, so because I am I'm trying to manage my AWS infrastructure using the CLI. Okay, so the secret key and the access key is part of security. To just confirm that, yes, I'm the owner of this account. So you go to your AWS account, retrieve the security key and the access key. Then that is what you're going to use as if you're logging in. It's kind of just confirm your identity before you can do any engagement on the AWS account. So it's a form of security because I'm doing it from the CLI. Have I answered it?
Yep.
Yeah. So to generate your access key and secret key, go to your AWS account, then identity and access management, then go to quick links, then generate. And access key and secret key is only generated once. So if you lose it, then you have to create another. Yeah. I hope I've answered all the questions. Yes, Moses?
The reason maybe I was asking that is because, for example, you see that template you have shown us. I think you have shown us something with so many properties.
Okay, let me share that. I can go back to the template.
The one which had so many properties of our EC2 instance. It was a Google something.
Okay, from the AWS documentation, where you have a lot of properties. So that time you can just access it by going to the AWS documentation. I only selected 4. That is the image ID, availability zone, instance type, and key name. That is what is mandatory for you to create an EC2 server.
So that there are many properties than the one in the graphical. That's one thing I noticed. I don't know. Does it mean that using CloudFormation is better?
Most of I think even in the graphical user interface, the console, they are there, only that maybe you've not interacted with them.
Okay.
Yeah. If you don't see any option from that part, always check the advanced details.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hope I've answered all the questions. Maybe I can hand it over back to the hosts.
Is there any other question? Anyone with a question? No one. Thank you very much, Janet. It's appreciated. Thank you for taking us to CloudFormation. I want to thank all of you for coming, for joining us this evening. Let us meet again next Wednesday for another session like this. If you want to see this particular presentation, you can go to our YouTube channel. Posted it in the chat, and you can find that and previous presentations. You can join us on LinkedIn. I've sent the link on the chat, and you can follow us for more presentations and more information. I've also posted Janet's LinkedIn profile. You can follow us from there. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.